I am Andrea. My topic is police body cameras, and my proposition is an extensive use of police body cameras will benefit law enforcement. So let's say a police officer that is out on patrol sees a woman getting beaten and robbed, but when the officer pulls over to see the scene, the suspect had already gotten away while the officer checked on the woman. Even though the suspect had gotten away, the camera that was attached to the officer's uniform and on the dash of his squad car caught the face of the robber, and they eventually caught him. So this leads to my secondary claims that are body cameras that can keep track of the evidence at the scene. It always surveys the actions of the officer, and it would enhance the trust of the public. So my first secondary claim is that body cameras keep track of evidence at the scene. As the crime rate in society rises, body cameras worn by police officers are imperative due to the fact that recording different situations builds evidence that can be shown during false complaints. So according to Time, the CCRB, which is the Civilian Complaint Review Board, was able to substantiate police misconduct with video at twice the rate of misconduct without video, from 18.6% compared to 9.3% in 2017. This also change in attitude when police officers wear them. While mounted police cameras can't pick up on absolutely everything an officer sees, the video obtained from these cameras can help paint a much clearer picture of what happened in an incident, according to the LA Times. Evidence caught on camera will benefit in court. Another article from the LA Times, since body cameras, according to internal report, cameras have reduced number of allegations left unresolved due to lack of evidence. From another article called Can a Jury Believe What It Sees by Jennifer Nukin, police reports, especially in complex situations, can be hard for juries to interpret or visualize. Video evidence removes a lot of that uncertainty. So going into my secondary claim, it surveys the actions of the officer. It allows officers to self-evaluate and find opportunities to improve how they handle a certain situation or incident. So do oppressors feel intimidated when seeing the camera? Researchers say that people tend to behave better when they know they are being watched. My third secondary claim, cameras would enhance the trust of the public. People feel a sense of security with police officers wearing body cameras. According to the Daily Signal, Salt Lake City's police chief noted that use of force complaints from citizens have dropped from 40 to 50 per year in 2008 to 2010, to 6 in 2014 and 18 in 2017. It is also known that there is less of a crime rate. In conclusion, the everyday use of body cameras could bring a lot of good to the police force if the videos are used correctly. The benefits of extended surveillance in providing evidence and building trust between civilians and officers could increase the police force's abilities and authenticity. Again, my claims were body cameras can keep track of the evidence at the scene. It always surveys the actions of the officer, and it will enhance the trust of the public. Thank you.
Well, the proposition is clearly identified at the beginning, so that's good. You get to the point pretty quickly, although I think a little bit more. I maybe would start with your hypothetical example first and then go to that purpose statement or the propositional statement, but the idea that you're talking about is relatively clear. There is a preview of the supporting structure, although some of the supporting points don't necessarily sound like declarative statements so much as they sound like pieces of information that you're going to hang an argument on without making an inference on it. I do think that there is some argumentative inferences being presented on those supporting claims, though, but it was a little bit confusing. On the first one, for instance, when you say can keep track of events, you immediately gave us a statistic that suggested that it sounded to me like the information suggested that successful events prosecuting police brutality or offense, we had an increase in that, or that we, instead of them being dismissed, they were more likely to be pursued. Your statistic on that was a little confusing, and it seemed like it sounded like it was going the opposite direction of the inference that you make on your third point. So that was a little strange. There's a quote in there that comes after the LA Times information. I think it's a quote that talks about how difficult it is for juries to understand what the heck is going on in some of the video that they see. I'm going, well, how does that prove that this keeps track of the information? It sounds like it clouds up the argument a little bit more, and so it seems like it's antithetical to the point that you're making on that first point. So I think the first point is not as clearly developed as it needs to be. The second point is also a little underdeveloped because it suggests that police officers are going to benefit from this because they'll be able to review and it'll be good for training, but your only evidence on this is that people kind of act differently when they know they're being recorded. And I'm going, I'm not sure that helps your argument very much on this particular point. And then the last argument seems to be making the suggestion that fewer complaints are being lodged primarily because we have the body cameras. So that means that people who were making complaints before that were not justified are being prevented from doing so. I'm not sure that indicates that there's greater trust with the police officers. It might make the police officers happier that kind of thing's going on. But like I said, it sounds like it contradicts with the evidence that you had on the first point. So it's a little bit confusing. I know the general point is that body cameras are supposed to provide us with some kind of benefit. And I know that there's a benefit to evidence, that there should be a benefit to police officers, and there should be a benefit to the relationship with the public. But I'm not sure that the supporting information is always consistent with the claims that you're presenting, and you need to explain it more. And you have a tendency not to explain anything. You're mostly just reading information to us. I don't think you look up at us at all during the presentation, and you want to build some credibility with us and explain to us how these things work and show us that there is, in fact, a likely outcome that is positive as opposed to negative. The presentation, like I said, is a little underdeveloped. I think there is something that's argumentative here. There is an organizational structure. There's just a little bit of inconsistency on it. But there's information that's being cited in the presentation, and I think that's a good thing. I thought that you did a pretty good job trying to give us evidence, at least on the first and the third points, that we could sink our teeth into. Like I said, the second point felt maybe really thin. All right, thank you.